Usually when you think about killer dog movies, the obvious one that comes to mind first is Cujo, for obvious reasons. But in 1993, the house that Freddy built made their own killer dog flick, and we're going to talk about it right now. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about a killer dog movie. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, great, would appreciate that. And like my intro, whenever killer dog movies come up, in my mind anyway, Cujo is the first one I think about. The one we're going to talk about today came out in 1993. Matter of fact, November 19th of 1993. It's rated R. It's an hour and 27 minutes long. Had a budget of $6 million, and upon release it made $12.9 million. This was a New Line Cinema production. That's why I said the house that Freddy built made their own killer dog film, and this one's called Man's Best Friend. And believe it or not, when this came out, I remember the trailer for it. I remember seeing the box art at my video rental store, Broad Street Video in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania. I'm going to give a shout out to them again. I remember seeing this one. I never rented it, even though I wanted to see it. And for some reason, it just kind of fell through the cracks over the years. I've never seen this film, but Tubi has it streaming for free. If you want to check it out on Tubi. You can watch it if you're interested in watching this film. This film was directed by John LaFia. John LaFia was just coming off of Child's Play 2. He directed that in 1990. He also co-wrote the first Child's Play, and he wrote this film as well. Starring in this film, we got Ali Sheedy playing Lori. She is a local news station reporter. Lance Hendrickson plays Dr. Jarrett, and he's kind of like the mad scientist of this movie. And he definitely has his own problems. And Bob Shea, who ran New Line, makes an appearance here as a mechanic. Yeah, he's working on Lori's boyfriend's vehicle, and we see him in the same frame as Max, which is the killer dog of this film. And basically, right in the beginning of this film, we see that this lab employee gets a phone call from Lori, we find out, and she's trying to let Lori sneak her into the building so she could tell a news story about these genetically tested animals that Lance Hendrickson's character is doing all these tests to. And they make that she's going to come tomorrow night at midnight or whatever, and we see her get attacked and killed, but we never see what does it. But we find out pretty quickly what did it. Well, Lori shows up that next night with her cameraman and her producer, which is one and the same, and they end up breaking in because this employee never comes to get her, so they decide to break into the facility. They find all these animals with burns on them, scars, and then they happen upon this dog, and his name is Max. And she starts trying to film her story there, but Lance Hendrickson's character and security guards show up and they take off. Max follows suit because he likes Lori, and Lori takes Max home. And before we know it, Max starts showing signs of aggression towards Lori's boyfriend, a cat in the neighborhood which it ends up eating, the mailman which it kills, and so on and so forth. And pretty much we find out that Max was genetically modified to be a security dog, but it needs this shot to keep it stable, and without this shot it's going to go full on psycho and start killing everybody that's around it. And so Lance Hendrickson's character is trying to find it, the cops are trying to find this dog, and pretty much it culminates in one final showdown with the dog. The dog kills the two cops, follows Lori and Lance Hendrickson's character back to the lab. There's a car accident, and Lance Hendrickson's character ends up shooting Max in the chest while he gets killed as well. And that is pretty well. Max also impregnates this dog in the block, and at the end of the film, there's a little bit of a stinger where this collie ends up having pups, and they all look like the collie except for one, which looks like Max, and that's the end of the film. What to like about this film? Well, this is textbook nature run amok type stuff, and I guess they're trying to make a little bit of a. They don't dwell on anything. A little bit of a message about animal testing. And they definitely dive into that here a little bit, but it's played just for this like sci-fi horror film that is definitely cheesy in moments. It's definitely played for laughs here. There's a lot of on-the-nose type humor. There's a scene where Max ends up going to have sex with this collie that he's infatuated with. It's one of the neighbor's dogs. And the music playing is Puppy Love. I mean, that's what kind of movie we're dealing with. You're really not meant to take this all that seriously. Although I will say Lance Hendrickson's giving it his all here, chewing the shit out of the scenery in all the best ways that Lance Hendrickson does. That's why we love him. Ali Sheedy's good here for what she's given to do. The dog itself, which is a Tibetan Mastiff, They use 5 different dogs during the making of this film, and the dog is great here. He's menacing when he needs to be, and he looks cute and cuddly when he needs to be that as well. And the killing scenes are well shot, and they're bloody. There's definitely blood here, for sure. There's some moments where the effects don't work as well. Now, Kevin Yeager did the makeup effects and the Max puppets. They use puppets when the dog ate the cat. That's a puppet. And there's other scenes when the dog busts through the door at Laurie's boyfriend. He's hiding in the closet. That's a puppet, although they cut right away to the real dog, dragging him out of the closet. Then he pisses acid on him. Yes, you heard me right. The dog pisses acid onto his face. He does survive, but it's a pretty humorous scene, even though horrific in the same way. It's definitely, it straddles the line between serious horror film and just cheeseball moments. It doesn't always work, and they're definitely conflicting, but you can still have a good enough time with this film. It's decently shot by John Lafia. I like what he did with Child's Play 2. I like that sequel. I think it's the best sequel to Child's Play series. And he does okay here. I mean, he had a $6 million budget. It wasn't a lot of money. Some of the effects don't work. They set it up where Dr. Jarrett spliced all these genes of all these different animals into Max. And so he can camouflage. We only see it in one scene where these 2 idiot animal control officers go to find Max in this garage. And the CGI, or whatever effect they used, is awful. Where the dog is camouflaged in with it, and then it appears. It looks laughably bad, especially now. So that doesn't really work. Overall, this movie's okay. It has its issues. It's only an hour and 27 minutes long, so it's an easy watch. It's enjoyable to a point. It's definitely cheesy in moments, serious in the next. There's a scene at this junkyard where Laurie takes the dog to hide Max and gives it to this guy who owns this junkyard, who seems friendly enough at first. And then he's a total dick to the dog, knocks the dog out with a shovel because it won't stop barking, and then threatens to blowtorch it, which the dog gets off of, attacks him, and he does blowtorch the face, which is a cool makeup effect on the dog. And then they had to put contacts in the dog, which really make the dog look menacing in the last act of the film. Now, you will see some errors because one shot the dog has the contact in, and the next you can clearly see it doesn't. But I read that they can only put the contacts on the dog's eye for only 2 minutes at a time. And they were very careful with the prosthetic makeup effects. They were very careful with all the animals in this film. None of the animals were hurt, even though there's a lot of violence on screen. And they took very good care of all the animals present in this film. At the end of the day, this is just an okay film. I'm glad I watched it. I never saw it. This is a movie that I always thought about renting as a kid. Matter of fact, on the box art, it shows the dog looking like a robot, so it's a little bit misadvertising because the dog is not a robot. It's just a genetically modified dog. That's all it is. It's not a robotic dog, but they kind of tried to sell you on it. It's like a cyborg dog. At the end of the day, it's a perfectly serviceable nature run amok type film. Lance Hendrickson's really good here. At the end of the day, I would give this one a 5.5 out of 10. If you've never seen it, I'd recommend checking out. It's perfectly enjoyable this way to spend an hour and a half. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's not great. But 5.5 out of 10 for me for Man's Best Friend. Have you ever seen this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more videos. But until next time, bye.